Hello.
Good to see you. Oh, good to see you.
You too.
Good to see you, Dr. Come on in.
He's a man who's touched more lives than you would ever be able to count.
He could be Edmonton's Harvey Milk. He deserves a skywriter saying, "Thanks, Dr. Warneke."
He's got a big heart. He's a very generous person. He's a very giving person. But yeah, there is no doubt he has some teeth and he's used them.
He's a legend in Edmonton psychiatry, a fighter and champion for being human and dogged determination to allow people to be who they are.
I was actually born during the war, and my father then bought a farm in the middle of nowhere, about 30 miles west of Warneke. I remember one time my mother asked me to put out some water and feed for the chickens. And I dilly-dallied around. I was quite young at the time, and I didn't do it, and a storm came up. And so she asked me, did I feed the chickens? I said, no. And she made me feel so guilty. But I just simply said, well, we're nice and snug and warm and having our food. I guess the poor chickens will manage the best they can. And it just hit me. And from that time on, I was it just struck a chord in me. In med school, the second and third year, we were all assigned a patient that we had to take a history from and then give a case presentation afterwards. And the patient that I was assigned, just by chance, happened to be transgendered, a trans female. And I thought that was quite fascinating. I'm gay myself, in the closet at the time, but knew what it was like to struggle and belong to a minority group with all the hateful things that are being said around you.
Back in the early days, he worked with a lot of people with obsessive compulsive disorder, and that was a bit of a specialty of his. And actually, people came from around the world to come and be treated by him.
I guess because of my interest in, quote, sexuality, I saw a whole bunch of individuals that were actually transgendered. We had to fight Alberta Health to get funding for their sex reassignment surgery. They all went to Belgium, had the surgery, and the outcome was just fantastic.
Dr. Warneke was the one who stood by me, wrote letters to the school board, and let them know that as a male to female transgendered teacher, I would be no threat to the children whatsoever. And I'm sure his letters were very significant in me winning the case.
Psychiatrists or medical people refer to it as gender identity disorder. But I don't care for that terminology because it implies pathology or illness.
We define it as a disorder because there's a battle in the individual who's suffering about their own gender. It's not a disorder from their perspective, it is who they really are. It was not really considered to be legitimate. It was just considered to be a behavior, even a sexual perversion. This was a diagnosable, treatable mental disorder. I think he had to legitimize that in order for the government, Alberta Health Services, to cover the treatment.
He really did it at a time where it was very much against the current and against the grain, and he drew a lot of, I think a lot of judgment.
I wrote an article on sexual orientation and health problems specific to people who are gay, lesbian, and I got some hate letters from some of my colleagues. Then along comes the Delvin Green case. He got fired from King's College for being openly gay. It started off with the lower court of Alberta, went right to the Supreme Court of Canada, where it was won.
He wasn't just a doctor, he was a humanitarian. And I think those human rights issues and what we do as doctors began to integrate.
You have a trans daughter, and this is too long of a wait, unacceptable.
I must have been 12.
We were met with the most wonderful, accommodating, compassionate man at the door that told us that we were on the right track and that all we needed to do was love and support our daughter. We walked out of the office with permission for Ella to be who she was.
He's been an advocate of all the good things that we now just take for granted. He just wants to change the world for the better for all of us.
Jeez, I'm getting chills thinking about it because honestly, at the end of the day, as great of a physician as he was a better human being.
Every time I think of Dr. Warneke, I smile. He's a wonderful man.